All right.
Um,
Yeah, it's just wonderful to be here with you. Yes, you had a question?
no, are we live?
Let's see.
That-
Here we go. And I'm going to put us back. On Zoom. Here we are. Okay. So this is a wonderful opportunity for me to be here with Farida Hassanali. Farida has been an enthusiastic supporter and helped to organize and be part of one of the first Golden Civilization conversations that I gave and that were given in general in the United Kingdom with an organization that is known by its initials, CISI, but it's one of the great organizations of financial advisors in England. And I believe Farida introduced me and has been enthusiastic enough and supportive enough to be interested in coming and speaking to all of us about her experience. So, Farida, with that said, you can correct now anything that I've messed up in the introduction.
No, that was perfect, really. Try to give a bit more background on sort of what the CISI is for those who don't know. So they're a professional body. They used to be the Institute of Financial Planning, the IFP in the UK, which merged in with the CISI, which is actually a global organisation. And they're the ones that provide the Certified Financial Planner qualification in the UK.
Fabulous, which is what most of the registered life planners that have trained with me have as their basic designation, the Certified Financial Planner designation, which is used all over the world. There's another designation that's very popular in the UK and also very good. It's the Chartered Financial.
That's right.
And so there's often overlaps in the UK between those two. Farida, tell me, I'm just so curious, what interested you in the first place about the Golden Civilization? And is there anything from your own life that you'd like to bring into this conversation?
I mean, I guess when I first heard you, or I sort of saw the book, I read some of the book and then heard you speaking about it. The thing with the Golden Civilization was actually just how difficult that really is to imagine, to be able to think so far into the future and to be able to comprehend what that kind of idealistic perfect could look like. And actually, I was like, I'd never even thought that that was a thought to have, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And then once you do start thinking about it, you look at everything around you with such a different perspective as well, of all the possibilities of what that could or should be, in your opinion.
Yes, yes. How has that changed your perspective?
I think there's an element where I'm mildly less patient with some things, actually, especially with more so of the technology side of things. There's so many different systems and companies, and all of that advancement is brilliant. It's just not connected.
Yes.
And one of the things I sort of see in the future is really having that central point where, yes, you might still have all these different companies which are offering different services and everything, but they all link back to that fundamental space. So rather than having to go to various different providers, various different funds, or however that might look, actually each individual just logs into this one system, and then all of those systems feed through to there.
Wow, that's beautiful. What a wonderful vision. It's been rare to have actually a technological vision on this Facebook Live program that I've been running. That's fantastic, Farida. Brilliant. Do you have any thoughts about implementation, or is it mostly just the vision at this point? And the vision's great. I mean, it's wonderful just to have it, to know what it would be.
I guess it comes down to the open API. I mean, I don't have any real advanced sort of tech background, so I don't know what that could look like. But can't see why, because there's so many systems that can and do talk to each other.
Yes.
So I don't see why there wouldn't be that option to actually have that one system which everyone uses. But
Yeah.
it really is just getting that traction and sort of having someone, which I guess might actually have to be a regulated entity, saying, no, everyone do this.
Yes.
And then there'll be that uniformity across companies.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wow. Well, that's inspiring and exciting to hear and think about. And of course, in what we're calling the Golden Civilization conversations, where people first vision what it is and then look to actions and obstacles. If you were part of one, I know you're not part of one of those ongoing communities, but if you were, I would be really interested in the thinking around that and how that would be implemented, how that would, what are the obstacles to it, and of course what the advantages and what kind of implementation we might have. That's quite wonderful. Well, it was the Golden Civilization, of course, the whole purpose of it was feeling that so many of our systems, including Earth systems, democratic systems, media structures and organizations, as well as the financial services, which is your specialty, that so many of these systems feel, I mean, my word for it is a little kludgy. They're a little bit elbows and off this way and that way, and not really clear. And often they deliver what the economists call negative externalities, meaning that there are consequences that we don't mean, that we would rather not have, like tremendous pollution or like dramatic inequality in the world, and or wars, or corruption, those kinds of things. Everywhere.
Even if you think back into the past, where you've got things like the discovery for sort of the atomic bomb or something, actually that never started out as a weapon of war. Actually, it was just an advancement in finding new sources of energy. But the more you have advancements, the more you do have people who spot the opportunities for bad as well as good.
Yes, yes. And how do you, and when you look at civilization getting more and more complex and Earth systems getting more complex, and the power of our thinking and of our structures becoming greater and greater, wow, it becomes rather fearful, I think. And that's
exactly
kind of where you are in the Brexit-ridden UK, and we are in the Trump-ridden US. And all the world seems to be falling into those polarized camps that feel more and more dangerous to what we care about. So,
but also more and more emulating that past, which in some ways we haven't necessarily learned from.
No,
just going around in the same cycles rather than actually moving forward.
Exactly. And that's also really a wonderful insight, because how do we move forward then? How do we come together and make the difference, which is what the Golden Civilization is trying to do. What my book was trying to do was to help people, just like you said, I hadn't thought that way before. And if all of us are thinking outside the box and thinking what the vision is that we want, maybe we can make something happen around it. Yeah. So what was it like being with the financial community when you introduced me and I gave a talk? I think it was almost a couple of hours that we talked there.
Yeah. Slightly overran.
What's that?
You slightly overran.
Yeah.
It was meant to be an hour. But no, I think that's the thing though. There were so many people who were so engaged and just enthralled with that. I mean, obviously, you're a well-known voice within our community. You're sort of known as the father of life planning, which is what so many certified financial planners look to achieve and emulate when they get to that point beyond learning kind of the basics. And I think that's what really drew people to the talk. But then actually hearing all of that, all of your sort of thought process and where you are, and then trying to project that forward. As I sort of said, for me, I actually found it very difficult initially, and really just trying to think about something so far away,
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to just think beyond your own lifespan.
Yeah.
And I remember as I was sort of trying to think about what to talk about today, one of the things that actually popped into my mind is how we so frequently get caught up in just going day to day, looking at that to-do list and trying to do as much of it as possible each day, and then going forward, and that just continues and goes on and on. And the word that came to my mind most when we started talking about the golden civilization was peace.
Ah,
That's the one word that really struck me, and that's kind of, if there was one thing I could have both within myself and within the world,
yeah.
that would be it, in that sort of idealistic viewpoint.
Oh,
And I think part of that just starts, especially from within yourself, of instead of having so much day-to-day focus, really looking at that, your own personal life planning.
yeah.
Look up, see where you are, look around, appreciate what you have achieved, what you have got, and then really think about what you want to do and what that future looks like for yourself. And from there, you can then start to think about what you want it to look like for the next generation and so forth, what your legacy could or should be.
Yeah.
But I think really to start with, you have to focus on where we are. And not everyone has the ability to do that or has the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's handleable, isn't it? It's something, it's just reflecting on our own life and looking at, how am I creating dissonance in my life, or how am I participating in the world that is contributing to less peace in my own life. And yeah, and then I agree with you. Once we have that greater sense of peace inside of ourselves, it's like we're grounded and we're centered.
Yeah.
And
I think you also have more openness to actually go, well, how can I make other people's lives better now?
yeah,
I'm happy with my life. I'm content. I've got what I need. I've got what I want.
yeah,
I want other people to feel this.
yes,
And I mean, that's really one of the things that brought me to financial planning, actually.
really,
That moment where you can give people that sort of that peace of mind, that I often refer to as the sleep at night factor, where you'll have clients come to you who are so worried about where they are, what they're doing. They have no idea where to start.
yeah,
And just
yeah.
that relief, that immediate look on their face, that moment where they go, Farida's dealing with it. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about this because Farida's going to worry about it for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's that moment where I think you can only really truly do that when you have that within yourself as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very much so. In life planning, one of our phrases in life planning is you can't life plan another person until you've been life planned yourself, or until you're living your life plan. And there's a lot of truth to that, because otherwise we come across as just kind of trying to push somebody around or coach somebody in a way where we're not living it authentically. And clients can see that. We're all social creatures, subtly social creatures, looking in another person's eye and wondering what they're really thinking or feeling. And we can tell when there's some dissonance there and the person's not at peace. Yeah, yeah. Beautiful, Farida. So well, that's lovely. And anything else about that, either about that peace inside yourself or in the world? I mean, one of the things that raises for me is, so you're describing this peace as something that you recognize that you have a lot of power around yourself, and that you also have some confidence that if you just pay attention to it, you can deliver more of it into your life. And so my question, and you also have clearly expressed the confidence that in your profession, you can also deliver more of that into the lives of those around you. So my further question is, how does that translate into moving even broader into the context of peace? I mean, we've talked about nuclear war, for instance, into just about the worst thing we can think of, really. How does that translate into a shift in civilization?
I guess I actually really like to believe in that butterfly effect of actually a small act of kindness that I make that makes someone else's life better. They can then pass that forward, and actually, that bit by bit does spread throughout the world. And if there's, you know, millions, billions of us each trying to do that and deliver that for all of those people around us, then actually, surely that should bring peace and happiness to everyone.
Yeah,
And I think actually people have more inner peace when they're helping others.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. And one more question about that, because I think that's I feel that certainly I think that's very true. That if the world rises up from the grassroots, basically from us, from each of us, with greater peace inside of us and greater commitment to bring that peace to everything around us. What could stand in our way, really? I mean, that's pretty phenomenal to imagine that. So, of course, part of the Golden Civilization conversation movement is to try to inspire people in an ongoing way to do that, to make that happen. But a challenging question, because we, as you know, in the way we design this vision of a golden civilization, which we've been talking about largely in the context of peace, but also in the context of systems and technology
Yeah,
so far today. And then we look at, well, what are the obstacles to that? And then we look at, well, what are the actions that could be taken that would actually deliver that golden civilization into our world in a single generation, in just one generation. So at first we're thinking
wow.
way out there. And then we come down to, well, let's do it now. Let's do it now.
Yeah,
And so part of that is, of course, building that movement of where we recognize that we want it. And we know that peace
yeah,
is there. So we're going to develop the inner peace and make it happen. But clearly, another obstacle are the institutions around us. The financial institutions are certainly one of
yeah,
them, but our governments, even our nonprofits, which are supposed to be for our welfare, but often seem to be just single-minded in one direction or another, and might not be really fiduciary for all of us or for all of the planet. So when you come to that piece after doing this work of peace inside yourself and spreading the message, what do you think would help most in that institutional life that we face? And of course, there's differences all over the world. I think we all feel that we're all the same in terms of wanting peace
yeah.
inside ourselves, that all human beings are the same, but our institutions differ. But even in our advanced institutions in the UK and in America, we've got problems.
Yeah.
So what do you think would make a difference there if we're to do this in a generation? What needs to happen, do you think?
I think part of it is actually more changing the mindsets of people within the countries to realise actually the governments are there trying to create good. One of the things that really sticks in my mind is something very simple but wouldn't be there without the government is things like just street lights. Uh, No one would be willing to really pay for that individual street light outside of their house, which they don't feel like they're receiving sufficient benefit from. But that's the sort of thing that our taxis go toward.
Yeah,
And when you are out late at night, you definitely want that light to be on.
you do.
And it's just really changing people's mindset to think about those elements of what they are getting. So many people are focused on what they're not getting,
Right.
but actually appreciate what you have is probably step one.
Yeah.
And then understand it's a really difficult task trying to work out what to do with an entire country of people who all want different things and different objectives.
Yeah.
But I think, again, that needs to start at the bottom of trying to help those people who need the most help first.
Yeah.
And I think the people at the top just kind of need to be a bit less selfish and think, actually, no, I've got it pretty good right now. There could be so many worse things going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me help someone else too.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Lovely. It's wonderful to hear your perspective, and knowing that you're very involved in the financial services industry,
Yeah.
but really very much what many of our viewers won't realize is that the financial planning profession is kind of a unique um, element within that industry. So to hear you talk about the well-to-do, have maybe there's a little selfishness there, and that maybe we ought to be valuing what our tax dollars are going toward. Um, uh, it's wonderful to hear, and I think for our audience to hear, coming from a financial services professional, that the financial services industry, where we are client facing, and where our passion is to deliver the client into their dream of freedom, which often has this element of peace to it that you describe for your own life, that our passion is to create a world that is really wonderful, not just to accumulate for our own selfish needs. And that just for the public to realize that even in financial services, there are corners of financial services that are profoundly concerned about what's going on in the world, and want the best for everybody from the bottom up.
And I think that's where things like the trends in impact investing are so encouraging. That is giving people that greater awareness to go, actually, yes, I've got this money, but I can be using that to have more of an effect, to do more good,
Yeah, yeah,
rather than just accumulating for
beautiful,
no real purpose.
beautiful,
I think
beautiful.
that's probably the thing that encourages me the most of looking at the long-term future for our industry mostly.
Wow, fantastic. So, Farida, for those of you who don't know, is talking about impact investing, which is what used to be called years ago when I was young in the industry, socially responsible investing, and it's investing that makes a difference and is impactful and is thoughtful about the larger contexts of civilization that it impacts. And it's quite a wonderful movement happening right now. Farida, is there anything else? We've come near the end of our time together. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I think that's probably the main thing. I guess the only other element I really see for the future is just having that sort of health focus, which I think again does come within a piece.
Yeah.
Having that mindfulness, as you say, but it's not just. So far, I think there's been a lot more focus on the physicalities of being healthy, and
Yeah.
it's again really encouraging to see that people are more and more focused on mental well-being as well.
That's fabulous, and thank you for sharing that again. It's one of the things in the book, as you know. I design something I call the map of mindfulness, and
Yes.
it has let's see if I've got a version of it here. This is a complex version, but it's something like this for those of you who are watching. And it's really what it does is it shifts our focus from the universe of time and space, which is all about our material needs and all of that, to recognizing that the only moment we've ever really experienced in all of our lives, and the only moment we experience freedom in, is the present moment. So it makes the present moment a much larger element in time and space. And then that enables us to, in fact, focus more on what is our relationship to the present moment, which is largely psychological and humane. Yeah,
very much so.
yeah, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful spending time with you. Perhaps I'll see you in November.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.
I hope so. I really do.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, George.
Be well.
Bye.
Bye.